This last season and a half has seen Liverpool break a lot of records. Just to name a few, Liverpool broke their record for most consecutive unbeaten home league games, set a club record for most points in a season ever, and equaled the record for consecutive Premier League wins. On the flip side, Liverpool have lost more games this season than in the last 2 seasons combined, failed to score at home for 3 consecutive games for the first time in 37 years, and lost 3 games in a row at Anfield for the first time in 58 years. So, while the highs have been high, the lows have been low. Although it would be fair to say that the loss of Joe Gomez, Joe Matip and Virgil van Dijk has had an incredible impact on Liverpool this season, there's a certain deeper, intangible reality that lies beneath the downturn in form. When Leicester City hosted Liverpool at the King Power Stadium on Boxing Day, Liverpool had gotten off to the greatest start in Premier League history and collected 49 points out of the first 51. Despite having already beaten Leicester City earlier in the season in the reverse fixture at Anfield and being 10 points clear, Liverpool came into this top of the table clash with their title credentials on the line. What proceeded to occur over the next 90 minutes was what I would consider one of the most flawless performances of the Klopp era, as Liverpool completely dominated Leicester in their own stadium. Liverpool moved the ball around quickly and incisively. Each and every player looked like they could score with waves of attack after attack, and the press from top to bottom was relentless for the entire 90 minutes. After the match, Liverpool went 13 points clear of the chasing pack with a game in hand, and effectively ended the title race. But what was not apparent then is that this significant victory also represented a paradigm shift for the players, the fans, and maybe even the manager. In addition to being European and world champions, Liverpool were now basically champions-elect, with the opportunity to end the season as the greatest Premier League side ever and possibly complete the treble for the first time in their history. With the title essentially won, Klopp, rather than exclusively put his eggs into the treble-winning basket, simply set out to win as many games as possible and see what would come of it. At least that's what appeared to happen. With so much to play for, with a lot of the season still to go, Liverpool's performances slowly and quietly deteriorated, and before long the form started to follow too. Even though Liverpool won their next 8 games, the team had started to take their foot off the gas and only looked like they were really up for the challenge if they were playing big games. Although players like Mane, Henderson and Gomez maintained a decent standard of performance, it was very apparent that the likes of Fabinho, Alexander-Arnold and Van Dijk played worse and sometimes even looked casual after the new year, and the team as a whole dropped off in intensity. The reality call for Liverpool finally came when they went away to a great team in Atletico Madrid, conceded an early goal and failed to create a meaningful chance for the rest of the game. The next game was a nervy match against West Ham, which Liverpool narrowly won before losing comprehensively to Watford and ending the prospect of going invincible. Liverpool were then knocked out of the FA Cup by Chelsea before just about beating Bournemouth and then being eliminated by Atletico Madrid after a very good performance that was undone by a mixture of mistakes and a drop-off in concentration once the players felt the tie was won. Within 3 weeks, Liverpool went from being potential history makers to only going for the league simply because the mindset of relentless desire and subtle self-belief had shifted to one of bravado and possibly even arrogance. After the restart, Liverpool continued to play just as they had done before and ended the season without any particular hallmarks, as they lost 4-0 to Man City and somehow managed to lose 2-1 against Arsenal to end the possibility of recording a 100-point season. With injuries and a lack of preseason, that form is carried on into this season, and now, 6 years and 300 games in, Jurgen Klopp has stumbled upon his biggest challenge yet. The sort of challenge that separates good managers from great managers. When Jurgen Klopp arrived, he set out to accomplish quite a few things, and to say that he achieved all those things would be quite an understatement. He promised to bring high-intensity, full-throttle football to Anfield, to deliver a trophy within 4 years, and most crucially, to turn doubters into believers. That vision he outlined in that very first press conference was a perfect mirror for where the club was at the time. Since Suarez had left for Barcelona, the football had been terrible, the club had won a single League Cup in 9 years, and morale was at an all-time low with a squad full of square pegs in round holes. Within a matter of months of Klopp's arrival, Liverpool were playing great attacking football and reached 2 finals by the end of the season. As Klopp built his own team and created a cohesive unit that improved and matured over the years, the trophies started to follow and the mentality of the players evolved. The Liverpool that we see today is not the experimental startup that it was a couple of seasons ago. The club have won several trophies, broken several long-standing records, and are home to a squad full of internationals. The proof of concept is there for all to see, and therein lies Klopp's challenge. The mission he now has on his hands is to transform this set of believers into doubters once again and inspire a new belief and impose a new pinnacle that will be relentlessly pursued until it is achieved. It might seem strange to say that this team needs a new impetus to be competitive, but it's important to understand that most of the squad is approaching their 30s or already there, and above all, most of the same players have been there for all the failures and successes of the club era. While the results and silverware have only started to show in the last 2 seasons, this project has been in the making for the last 5 years. Simply put, a lot of those players have already been part of a career-defining period or cycle and need a new challenge to continue playing at the very highest level. Where Klopp finds himself now is exactly where he found himself 7 years ago, and although he didn't succeed in building a second-grade Dortmund side, his team in England has seen him grow as both a manager and a personality. Whether he embarks on a squad clear-out and essentially rebuilds from scratch like Simeone has done at Atletico, or goes the Sir Alex Ferguson route by maintaining the core and bringing in unproven hungry players to rejuvenate the team, will ultimately depend on how long Klopp intends to stay at the club and how much the board intends to back him. Ultimately, regardless of which method Jurgen Klopp employs, he faces an uphill battle, and if he succeeds, he will cement himself even further into Liverpool's history books.